A diamond-studded hand cuts across the face of a black flight attendant in first class. Gasps ripple through the cabin, phones rise instantly, and for a split second, the entire plane is frozen in disbelief. Who is this woman who dares to strike a crew member in front of dozens of witnesses? What kind of power does she think protects her? The slap is not just an insult, it's the opening shot in a drama that will expose privilege, arrogance, and the truth about who really controls the skies. And the mystery deepens. Why does this passenger laugh when she's warned she just assaulted the captain's daughter? Why does her confidence crumble the moment her own husband steps aboard, ready to sign a deal that her arrogance has just destroyed? This is not just about one slap. It's about the mask of wealth slipping away in front of a global audience, live streamed in real time. Before we dive in, where are you listening from in the world right now? Drop it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next story that unmasks power and prejudice where you least expect it. And with that, let's begin the story. The first-class cabin hums like a well-oiled secret. Leather breathes. Glass clinks. Overhead bins shut with soft clicks that sound expensive. A citrus white blooms in the air and vanishes under perfume. "Welcome aboard," a junior attendant says to a couple in matching cashmere. "Champagne? Obviously," the man replies without looking up from his phone. Amara moves the way good service looks before anyone names it. Seat 1D just down the aisle. Careful with the heel there. Her voice is even low, the kind that settles nerves. The cabin light finds a faint line of gold in her irises, then slides off the polished seat shells. Every motion, quiet, precise. A perfume arrives before the woman who owns it. It's sharp, cold, a winter flower forced to bloom. Diamonds walk before she does. I asked for the forward suite by the bulkhead. This is provincial. "Good afternoon," Amara says. "Mrs. Ashford." "Yes?" "We have you in two-way, as requested. The bulkhead is reserved for a medical accommodation." "Then unreserve it," the woman says. She is blonde the way money makes you blonde. Hair like spun light, cheekbones built for photographs. "Do I look like a medical emergency should outrank me?" "It's not about rank," Amara answers. "It's about need." "Need," the woman repeats, tasting the word like an olive she didn't order. "My husband pays more in fees than most of these people earn in a year. That's a need." A businessman in 3C pretends to scroll, angles his phone camera a degree. Someone 2 rows back murmurs, "Is that Victoria Ashford?" The name moves down the aisle on a current of curiosity. A tiny red light winks to life on a stranger's device. Amara keeps her hands where they can be seen. "We can adjust your meal selection, Mrs. Ashford. Caviar service is on today's menu." This finish scratches. She tells no one. Then to Amara, "And don't hover." "I'll step back," Amara says. She does. 1 pace. The carpet is a cloud under her shoes, soft enough to forget there's metal under all of it. Across the aisle, a couple argues in whispers about a carry-on. "It's fine," the man says. "Just shove it." The bin resists, then yields with a groan. The cabin breathes again. The intercom comes alive with a baritone. The microphone rounds at the edges. "Good afternoon from the flight deck. We'll be departing on schedule." "Where is the champagne I didn't have to ask for?" she says. "In Paris, they pour before you sit." Amara nods to the galley. Coming right up. She returns with a chilled bottle, the neck frosted faintly, a napkin draped like a small ceremony. "Madam." Victoria peers at the label. "Acceptable," she says, then points with the glass toward the window. And this shade is at the wrong angle. The light is brutal. "I can adjust it," Amara says. "May I?" She reaches, raises the blind a notch to move the glare away from Victoria's face. "Where's the head attendant? The one who knows how to anticipate." Amara frees her arm without making it a scene. You're speaking with her. Charming. Victoria glances at Amara's name pin, then at Amara's skin, then back at the pin. You, then. I expect quiet unless spoken to. Of course. Amara checks the other rose. She returns it. Quick. Private. Excuse me. A woman in 2B asks, could I have a blanket? It's chilly. Right away, Amara says. She steps past Victoria's stretched leg, careful not to brush the suede boot. The boot extends a fraction further. Just enough. Watch your step, Victoria says. Not moving. I've got it, Amara answers, and she does, curtain whispering against her shoulder as she slips into the galley. The coffee scent in here is dark and welcoming. Metal clinks, steam sighs. She pulls a folded blanket, the fabric plush under her fingers, and returns. Victoria is tapping her empty glass with a nail. Refill, she says, eyes forward. I'll pour in, one moment. Amara sets the blanket in 2B, tucks it at the woman's knees. Here you go. Thank you, 2B says, soft. And, are you all right? I'm fine. Amara means it. There's a framework in her chest that doesn't wobble when people shove. She pours for Victoria. The liquid beads, bubbles climbing like they know where they're going. Please fasten your seatbelt for pushback, she says. Victoria sets the flute on the armrest, lays her hand over the buckle like it's a prop. I'll do it when I'm comfortable, she says. It's a safety requirement. Your concern is sweet, Victoria says. Comments flick in. Live now. First-class drama. A small chorus of tiny pings rises and blends into the cabin air. Amara keeps her tone level. We can't taxi until everyone is buckled. I need you to click it now. Victoria turns her head slowly, as if considering a piece of art she might buy and toss later. Do not speak to me like I'm one of your coach projects. This is not about class, Amara says. It's about the rule. The rule, Victoria echoes. Here's mine. She leans 1 inch closer, a smile that never reaches her eyes. I don't take orders from staff. The aisle holds its breath. Somewhere behind, ice knocks in a glass. Overhead, the ventilation whispers. Amara feels her pulse in her thumb, counts 3 beats, then points to the buckle. Seatbelt. Please. Say please again, Victoria says. It almost sounds like you mean it. I do mean it. Then mean this. Victoria lifts the belt, lets it fall. The metal clicks against the armrest, a petty percussion. No. Amara squares her shoulders. Madam, if you refuse, I'll have to ask the captain to come forward. And tell him what? Victoria asks. That you couldn't manage basic compliance? Try me. Amara doesn't step back. She doesn't raise her voice. You're tedious, she says. And the word lands with the weight of a door. She lifts her hand, turns it, studies the ring, as if the stone could answer for her. What did they call you? Amara. Amara, Victoria repeats, tasting it. Do your job quietly. I am doing my job, Amara says. Click the belt. The phone lenses sharpen. Breath clouds a little from the airflow. The plane is still, the kind of stillness that collects the next second like it knows it matters. Victoria exhales, not a sigh, a verdict. Fine, she says, and reaches for the buckle with 2 fingers, slow enough for the audience. Her hand stops halfway. She looks up at Amara again, eyes cool, measuring, as if changing her mind might be entertaining. The buckle hangs open between them, metal dull against leather, waiting. The buckle hangs open, dull metal on leather, waiting. A chime pings overhead. The intercom turns the captain's baritone into velvet. Cabin crew, prepare doors for departure. All passengers must be seated with seatbelts fastened. No one moves. The aisle is a held breath. A camera lens in 3C tightens for focus. Amara doesn't change her posture. Now, please. Victoria sets her elbow on the armrest like a queen at half-court. Your persistence is provincial. A junior attendant appears at the galley curtain, sees the tableau, and retreats one step. The smell of coffee and citrus cleaner pushes a soft wave into the aisle. Since you're so eager, a hiss from a passenger. Another lifts a phone higher. The old man in 1D clears his throat and looks down. Embarrassed for everyone. Amara doesn't touch the belt. I can't fasten it on you. Won't. Victoria corrects. Eyes cold. There's a difference. The intercom hums again. Flight attendants, arm doors, and cross-check. Amara doesn't look away. Mrs. Ashford, do not call me that like you know me, Victoria says. She taps the loose buckle with a manicured nail, a small metallic click that travels farther than it should. I said, service when spoken to. Across the aisle, a woman shivers and pulls her blanket closer. The air is cool with conditioned wind. It smells faintly of ozone and new leather. Ice knocks in a low-ball glass somewhere behind row 3. Amara keeps her hands visible. Belt. Please. Victoria's smile slides into something sharper. I don't take orders from staff. A few heads turn. The word staff hangs in the light. Amara's voice doesn't rise. It's not an order, it's the rule. Victoria leans closer. Breath a clean, expensive floral. Rules are for the people behind the curtain. A passenger in 2B speaks up, small but firm. Just fasten it so we can go. Victoria doesn't look at her. Stay in your lane. The buckle still waits. The plane is motionless. The engine rumble, a distant animal outside the skin. Amara inhales once. If you refuse, I'll call the captain forward. Victoria settles deeper in the seat, as if to root. Go fetch him, then. Maybe he can teach you manners. Amara doesn't move. Seatbelt. Say please again, Victoria says. It's quaint. One more. Please fasten your seatbelt, Amara says. And a tremor enters the between-note silence. Not in her voice. In the room itself, a tiny shift as people decide who they are in front of other people. Victoria lifts the belt 2 inches, then lets it fall. The metal clinks. No. Something breaks. Not loud, just final enough to be heard. Amara reaches 2 fingers toward the strap. Stops just shy. I cannot touch you. If the belt isn't secured, we delay the entire cabin. Victoria's laugh is soft and ruinous. Delay them. A chime again. The captain's voice returns, smooth as runway tarmac in a summer mirage. Ladies and gentlemen, we're just waiting for final cabin checks. All eyes slide back to the belt. Amara's jaw firms. Last ask. Victoria sighs. Melodramatic. Where's the senior person here? I want the one in charge. I am the lead, Amara says. Victoria's gaze rolls from Amara's name-pin to Amara's face and sticks like a barb. Lead what, exactly? She tilts her head, voice dropping a fraction, sugar turning to cold. Listen, colored girl, move your little performance along. You're blocking my view. It cracks through the cabin like glass under a heel. Amara doesn't flinch. Fasten your seatbelt. Say please, Victoria repeats. As if the word is candy she can make someone beg for. Please. Amara says. The same tone. The same set to her shoulders. The same careful distance. She doesn't blink. Victoria holds Amara's stare. The corners of her mouth lift, satisfied with an ugliness she believes is victory. She flicks the buckle once more with her nail, then finally clicks it in with lazy, exaggerated slowness, the metal snicking home. A collective exhale slides through first class. The man in 3A mutters, "Took you long enough." He turns the comment into a cough when Victoria's eyes knife toward him. Happy? She asks Amara. We can proceed, Amara says. Refill my champagne, Victoria says. And bring caviar. Real caviar. Not the imitation you serve the masses. We don't carry roe in economy, a woman murmurs. Laughter snickers and dies as Victoria swivels, predatory. Amara nods once to the galley. The junior attendant appears as if conjured, and Amara's quiet glance sends her for the bottle. The cork sighs when it opens. The cold fizz pops tiny, bright stars up the flute. Annoying, Victoria says, inspecting the pour as if it might bruise her. You people never learn anticipation. She slides the napkin back at Amara with a single finger. And don't call me ma'am. It ages me. Understood, Amara says. The word sits neutral in the air. The intercom clicks. Cabin crew, doors to automatic, cross-check complete. Amara scans the other seats. The way a conductor scans a section before the downbeat. 1D is buckled. Hands folded. Eyes on the window. 2B pulls the blanket tighter. 3C's camera dips, then rises, then dips again. Unsure what this is yet. Sure it's something. Victoria lifts her flute. Victoria doesn't move. Ask me nicer. Amara pauses, then reaches for the side switch to demonstrate the angle. 2 fingers, not touching Victoria, just the plastic. Here. Victoria bats her hand away with the back of her own. A small, sharp smack. Don't touch my things. The smack isn't loud. It's bright. It draws every gaze again like a magnet. Amara keeps her balance. The plastic side panel is cool under her fingertips, the aisle carpet muffling the half-step back she takes to absorb contact that everyone saw. The captain's voice glides in, unaware of the temperature in his kingdom. Flight attendants, please be seated for departure. Amara doesn't sit. Not yet. Her hand hovers 1 inch above the switch, steady, refusing to tremble. The belt at Victoria's waist sits latched, shiny. A small, hard promise that the plane can move. That none of this is finished. The belt at Victoria's waist sits latched, shiny. A small, hard promise that the plane can move. That none of this is finished. The tug pulls. A low shudder runs through the fuselage, a feline stretch beneath plush carpet and polished panels. Overhead, the vents breathe their cold, even breath. The junior attendant takes her jump seat, eyes darting to Amara, then away. The intercom speaks in the captain's velvet calm. Cabin crew, be seated. The note hangs. The room ignores it. Amara stays planted by 2A, one hand hovering a fraction above the seat switch. Seat back upright for taxi, she says. Gentle. Professional. Immovable. Victoria stares at the hand as if it's graffiti. I told you not to touch my things. I won't touch anything, Amara says. I'm asking you to touch the switch. The champagne flute makes a soft ring when Victoria taps it against the armrest. You are very tiresome. A lens in 3C rises again. Someone in 1D folds a newspaper without looking down. The tug releases. The aircraft inches forward, a velvet push. The captain says, "Flight attendants, take your seats." The words land. The order does not. Seat upright. Amara repeats. Victoria's mouth tilts. You are here to obey. When I want something lifted, you lift it. When I want something lowered, you lower it. When I want you gone, you disappear. Amara doesn't step back. We can't taxi if your seat isn't upright. Then let the pilot come fetch me, Victoria murmurs. I'd love to see which kind of man keeps you in charge of anything. The comment lands and spreads like oil. A man in 2B swallows. The camera in 3C tightens. Amara shifts her weight. Not retreating. Centering. Seat. Upright. Victoria smiles finally. Not with pleasure. With precision. She draws her hand back from the armrest, wrist flashing diamonds under the LED strip. The motion is clean and practiced. A socialite's flourish sharpened to a blade. "Don't," the woman in 2B whispers, but the warning is only an exhale. The slap detonates. Open palm. A flat, cracking report that ricochets off leather shells and mirror-bright bulkheads. Amara's head snaps a centimeter. No more. The sound makes it feel like half a room. Champagne rings against glass. The flute sways. Steadies. The aisle inhales in one piece. For a second, everything freezes. A hair lifts loose from Amara's bun and floats, weightless, before gravity remembers it. A drop of condensation slides down the flute and leaves a wet comma on the armrest. The red record light on 3C's phone burns brighter, as if it could. Amara does not touch her face. She blinks once. Her eyes come back to level like a horizon after a wave. Victoria's voice is sugar over acid. The old man in 1D pushes up on his armrests, then sinks back. The silence is so complete the air system's soft hiss sounds like a storm. Did you just... 3A starts, then loses the end of the sentence to the empty space it would fall into. Amara inhales. It's small, precise, enough to reassemble the world inside her chest. She doesn't look left or right. She doesn't look at the phones. She looks at the woman in 2A and says, "Seat upright." A laugh stutters out of Victoria, unbelieving. "You're still giving orders?" "It's the rule," Amara answers, voice steady, not flat. The steadiness is the point. Seat upright. Now. Victoria leans back. Half an inch. Thrown by the absence of collapse. Then lurches forward again. Searching for it. "Do you know who I am?" "I know where you are." Amara's hand lowers that inch and stops in the empty space above the switch. On an aircraft in active movement, with a seat that must be upright. "Say please," Victoria whispers, like a dare. "Please." Victoria's rings glitter. Her fingers twitch. She does not move the switch. She reaches instead for the champagne, lifts it, takes a slow drink. A tiny bubble clings to her lipstick and pops. The cabin makes a sound that is not a sound so much as a collective recoil. A low curse from 3A. A thin no from 2B. The junior attendant's breath catching like a thread. Amara lifts her hand to demonstrate the opposite direction and stops just shy again, refusing contact. "Don't make this worse," she says, the words simple, the tone not pleading. Victoria's eyes narrow, not at the threat of rules, but at the absence of fear. "What will you do? Call your manager? Are you going to cry?" She tilts her head, evaluating. Hungry for collapse. "Cry for me." Amara's jaw sets. It doesn't harden. It sets, as if the hinge has found its exact position. "I'm going to do my job," she says. The words leave no room for interpretation. She reaches past the armrest, not toward Victoria, but toward the call button on the opposite panel. Victoria moves first. Her hand flashes again, faster, sharper. The second hit is smaller, a mean little flick aimed at Amara's wrist to knock it away. Skin on skin, a pop, more insult than strike. The audience gasps anyway. The phones tilt. One trembles. "Enough," says a voice that isn't Amara's. It's the old man in 1D, finally standing, hand braced on the headrest in front of him. His voice is sand over stone. "This is assault." Victoria doesn't even glance at him. "Sit down before you break a hip." "Ma'am," the junior attendant says, out of her belt now, finally choosing. Finally, stepping into the aisle. Her face is pale, her hands empty. "Please stop." Victoria sweeps her eyes over the girl like a lint brush. "Go back to your seat." The intercom pops. The captain's voice is silk with iron underneath. "Cabin crew, what is the holdup?" The holdup stands in 2A, head high. The 5-petal bloom on her cheek, deepening by the second. Amara doesn't touch it. She says, Clear enough for the microphone of every phone. We cannot proceed. Passenger in 2A is non-compliant and has assaulted a crew member. The junior attendant flinches at the word. The old man in 1D nods once. Firm. 3C's lens drinks every syllable. Victoria breathes out through her nose like a horse before a jump. You're going to regret that sentence. Amara keeps her eyes on her. Seat upright, she says again. One last time. Because the rule is the rule. Even when the world is watching. Victoria's hand rises a third time. Amara doesn't lift an arm to shield. She doesn't step back. The movement slows as if the air itself thickens in front of it. The wrist stalls. Eyes, screens, breath, all hold in the same inch of time. The cockpit door latch clicks. A heavy footstep thuds on carpet. The shadow grows longer with each step. Polished shoes press into the thick carpet. A slow, measured rhythm that cuts through the heavy silence. The cockpit door swings shut behind him with a metallic thump. Captain Johnson stands in the aisle, shoulders squared, the 4 gold stripes on his epaulette catching the light like fire. He doesn't speak at first. He looks. His gaze moves over Victoria's raised hand, Amara's red cheek, the wide eyes of passengers, and the forest of phones already filming. What happened here? His voice is deep, steady, the kind that vibrates in the air and leaves no place to hide. The junior attendant blurts, too fast. She misses Ashford, struck Amara. Her voice falters, but the word struck lands like a gavel, gasps, phones tilt. A man in 3A whispers, "It's true. I saw it." Victoria's laugh is sharp and brittle. Struck? What a melodramatic choice of words. I corrected her insolence. Captain Johnson doesn't flinch. "You put your hands on my crew?" "She provoked me," Victoria says, her smile stretched thin. She smooths her diamond bracelet, as if the gesture might erase the violence. "And besides, she isn't exactly crew material, is she?" Her eyes flick to Amara's skin like a blade. The cabin air goes rigid. "Ma'am," Johnson says, each syllable measured, "you will never raise your hand to one of my attendants again." Victoria tilts her chin, smirk returning. "And if I do, what exactly will you do about it?" Before Johnson can answer, Amara speaks, her tone level, precise. "Captain, she refused safety compliance, twice. And she struck me in front of passengers." Johnson's jaw tightens, but his expression stays calm. "Is this true?" He looks around, eyes sweeping over the crowd. The silence holds for 2 heartbeats. Then voices break it. "I saw it. She slapped her. Recorded everything." A ripple of agreement flows through the cabin. A low chorus. Screens glow brighter as livestream icons blink. Victoria scoffs, high-pitched and brittle. "Unbelievable. You're all taking her side? She's a servant. I am Victoria Ashford." She lets the name ring out like it's supposed to carry weight. Johnson studies her with a gaze that doesn't blink. Then he steps closer, his shadow falling across her reclined seat. "Mrs. Ashford, listen to me carefully. The woman you just assaulted is not only my crew." He pauses, and the space between words becomes an electric wire. "She is my daughter." The sentence detonates silently. The cabin gasps. A phone nearly drops, caught again mid-air. Amara doesn't move. Her cheek is still raw, her eyes unreadable. But the cabin, the crowd, the chorus, they all lean forward, waiting for what this revelation means. Victoria blinks, then bursts into a laugh so sharp it cuts. "Your daughter? Don't insult me with some cheap theater. What is this, a soap opera at 30,000 feet?" She claps twice, mock applause. "Heiress of the skies? Spare me." Passengers murmur. Some shake their heads. Others whisper furiously into their phones. Captain Johnson doesn't react to the mockery. His voice lowers, steady as stone. "You raised your hand against my child." The words are not loud. but they settle into every ear. Heavy, immovable. Victoria's smirk wavers for the first time. The silence after his declaration feels different. Now denser. Like air, thick with an approaching storm. A glass slips from someone's fingers in row 3 and shatters against the floor. No one moves to clean it. Victoria shifts in her seat, but the recline angle keeps her trapped, tilted back, looking up at the captain, looming over her. Her diamonds glitter, but her composure flickers like a candle in a draft. Phones rise higher. Comments ping. The world is watching. And the perfect ice mask she wore into the cabin is beginning to crack. Victoria sits reclined. The tilt of the seat no longer indulgent, but humiliating. A throne turned trap. Her diamonds flash under the cabin LEDs. A stubborn sparkle against the tension knotting the air. Passengers lean forward. Phones hover like witnesses in the dark. Captain Johnson doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't need to. Yes, she is my daughter. The sentence drops, heavy as steel. It travels row by row, screen by screen, whispered, mouthed, gasped. Amara stands a pace away, cheek still burning from the handprint. Her posture unbroken. She doesn't add to the declaration. She doesn't need to either. Her silence makes the weight of his words louder. From 2B comes the first ripple. Wait, what? Then 3A. Did he say daughter? And from somewhere near the back, no way. This is insane. A man in 1D whispers into his phone. Live streaming right now, people. The captain just said it's his daughter. Hearts and comments cascade across his screen. In real time. Victoria's laughter pierces the moment. It's high, manic, brittle. She claps twice, deliberately slow, like a theater critic mocking an amateur stage. Daughter, heiress. What is this? A children's play? Who would hand an empire to a maid with a tray? Her voice drips poison. The camera in 3C captures every word. A woman behind her hisses. Don't. Another mutters. Too far. But Victoria keeps going, emboldened by her own disbelief. Look at her. Polished. Yes. Obedient. Yes. But heiress? Spare me. This isn't a fairy tale for the bored and gullible. Captain Johnson doesn't blink. His calm is the kind that feels like it could bend steel. Atlantic Airways belongs to the Hayes family, he says. And Amara Hayes is the heiress to that family, to this airline, and to the responsibility you've just disrespected. The name Hayes ripples like an electric current. Some passengers freeze, connecting dots. Others lift phones higher to capture the captain's face, the gravity in his words. Amara finally speaks, her voice low, carrying across the hush. This isn't about titles or empire. This is about dignity, something every crew member is owed. The hush deepens. Victoria shifts in her seat, skin pale beneath the flawless makeup. She laughs again, but it catches in her throat this time. Dignity? That's what you're clinging to? She sneers at Amara's cheek, still red. It doesn't suit you. A man in 2B turned sharply. Enough. We all saw what you did. His voice is louder, harder. That was assault. Another passenger adds. You hit her. Twice. And another. On camera. It's already out there. Victoria's mouth opens, then closes, then twists into a smirk meant to save face.
You're all hysterical. You think anyone will believe a cabin of nobodies over me?
The businessman in 3A lifts his phone. They don't need to believe us. They'll believe the footage. He tilts the screen toward her. The red welt across Amara's cheek glows like evidence. The live stream counter ticks upward in the corner. 10,000, 12, 15. Victoria falters, eyes flicking to the screen. then back to the captain, then to Amara. She tries to recover, shaking her head. This is absurd. A setup. A trick. No trick, Johnson says. He places one hand on the headrest of her seat, leaning slightly forward. His shadow covers her diamonds, her glass, her sneer. You struck my daughter, the future of this airline, and the world is watching. Phones. Buzz. Fingers tap. Livestream comments flood in. This is unreal. Power shift. Respect her. Amara doesn't move, but her presence fills the aisle. Victoria, for the first time, looks small. The cabin feels like a courtroom. Every eye is fixed on row 2A. The champagne bubbles have gone flat, and the air smells faintly of leather, ozone, and something metallic, the scent of a moment breaking. Victoria sits stiffly, back finally upright because the captain still hovers over her, but her posture is all defiance. She crosses her legs, the silk of her skirt whispering. This is theater, she declares, voice sharp, meant to pierce through the judgment pressing in on her. A ridiculous performance for the masses, with phones. Do you all want a show? Fine. Clap for the heiress. Pretend you believe it. Her laugh rings false, a brittle echo that dies in the thick air. Amara does not answer. She simply watches. The 5-finger mark across her cheek glows, silent testimony. From 2B. A passenger says clearly, I don't pretend. I saw you strike her. And so did I, adds the man in 3A. He lifts his phone. And so did 10,000 people watching this live. He turns the screen so the red counter is visible. Comments scroll faster than anyone can read. Victoria's lips twitch. She lifts her flute again, hand trembling enough that the champagne shivers. She drinks too quickly, sets it down with a clink, and says louder, You're all exaggerating. A simple correction, blown into a scandal. She wanted this. She staged it. The old man in 1D rises halfway from his seat. That's enough. You can't spin your way out of what we all saw. You assaulted her, twice. His voice is gravel, unshakable. Stop lying. Phones pivot toward him. The chorus grows bolder. Exactly. She's caught. Unbelievable arrogance. Victoria slams her glass down, liquid spilling across the white napkin and dripping onto the carpet. Shut up. You don't know me. Any of you. Her diamond bracelet flashes, but her face is pale now. Her composure splintering. Captain Johnson doesn't move, doesn't raise a hand, but his voice cuts clean. What the passengers know is what they saw, and what the world is seeing now. Victoria whirls back to him, desperate for a lifeline. You can't seriously expect me to believe this charade. She points at Amara with a trembling finger, her nail like a blade. She's nothing, a servant in a borrowed uniform. You want me to believe she'll own all this? Amara finally speaks. Her tone is calm, steady, every word deliberate. I don't need you to believe it. Truth exists without your approval. The cabin stills, every head turning. The line lands, with the kind of weight that silence honors. Victoria scoffs, but the sound cracks halfway. Truth? Truth is whatever money makes it. No, the man in 3A says. Truth is right here. He tilts his phone higher. And it's trending. The junior attendant, pale but resolute now, steps forward from the galley. Her voice is small but firm. Mrs. Ashford, please stop. You're only making this worse. Victoria glares at her like she's dirt under a heel. Worse. Do you have any idea who my husband is? Do you have any idea what happens if you humiliate me like this? Murmurs ripple, but this time they're tinged with disdain, not fear. The truth is no longer under her control. A woman in 4C leans forward, speaking just loudly enough for phones to catch. Money can't buy you out of this one. Victoria's hand trembles. She clutches her bracelet like it's a talisman. "You're all beneath me," she whispers, though the words land flat, drained of conviction. Captain Johnson straightens. "Respect is not optional on this aircraft," he says. "Not for my crew. Not for my passengers. Not for my daughter." The silence after that isn't empty. It's charged, full of judgment, full of eyes, full of screens. Victoria swallows, but the sound is audible, awkward. Her glass lies empty on the napkin, champagne staining the carpet like evidence she can't erase. The cabin has settled into a silence that feels permanent, as if the aircraft itself refuses to move forward until the tension resolves. Phones glow like floating lanterns, trained on Victoria Ashford's face. She sits rigid in her seat, her bracelet clutched in her fist, makeup flawless but expression cracked. And then, the hiss of the main door. Cold air gusts in, swirling through first class, and carrying with it the scent of jet fuel and outside rain. Heads swivel. The hydraulic whine is sharp, intrusive, impossible to ignore. A figure steps inside with the stride of someone who has never been told to wait. Silver hair, immaculate suit, an aura of wealth carried not in arrogance, but in the easy confidence of power, accustomed to deference. His smile is wide, his eyes bright. "Richard Ashford," someone whispers. A passenger who recognizes the profile from magazine covers. The name sweeps down the aisle in a hushed chain. Victoria's head jerks around. Her lips part, relief flashing across her face. Richard. He doesn't look at her. He strides past her seat without pause, shoes whispering against the carpet. His hand extends toward Captain Johnson, firm, deliberate. "Captain Johnson," he says warmly, voice carrying. "An honor at last." His grip closes around the captain's hand in a hearty shake, the gesture of equals sealing trust. The cabin gasps as one body. Victoria's relief curdles instantly into horror. Richard's voice is jovial, confident, unaware of the storm he's just stepped into. "I've been looking forward to this day. The contract between Ashford Capital and Atlantic Airways will be the jewel in both our crowns. This partnership," he smiles, grand, turning to include the passengers, like an audience, "will take us into the future." The silence that greets him is not admiration. It is grave, suffocating. The only sound is the faint ping of a live stream notification and the uneven breath Victoria cannot hide. She clutches her empty champagne glass, fingers trembling. The stem slips, tips, and shatters against the floor, shards scattering across the aisle like her composure. Richard finally notices the stillness. His smile falters. His eyes flick from passenger to passenger, then to the forest of phones, each one glowing, each one pointed like an accusation. "What?" He stops. His gaze finds Amara. He sees the red welt across her cheek, the cameras capturing it, the silence pressing down. His eyes narrow, confusion sharpening into realization. He turns slowly, the gravity of the moment pulling him, until his gaze lands on Victoria. Her face has drained of color. She opens her mouth, but no sound comes. The cabin holds its breath, the weight of betrayal and exposure pressing in, and Richard Ashford, hand still halfway extended from the captain's handshake, clenches it into a fist at his side. The glow of admiration is gone. Only fury remains. Richard Ashford's fist curls tight at his side, veins standing out against his cuff. The cabin hums with the engines, but the real noise is silence, thick, charged, waiting to devour the next word. "Richard," Victoria says, her voice thin, reaching for him. "Darling, I can explain." He doesn't answer. His eyes sweep from the red welt on Amara's cheek to the raised phones, to the faces of passengers frozen in disgust and fascination. Every angle tells the same story. From 3A comes a loud whisper, meant for the live stream. Her husband just walked in. Wait until he finds out she slapped the heiress. The words travel fast, and Richard hears them. His head snaps toward the passenger, then back to Victoria. What is he talking about? His voice cuts through the air, low and dangerous. It's nothing, Victoria stammers. She clasps her diamond bracelet like a rosary, handshaking. They're exaggerating. It was a misunderstanding. The businessman in 2B speaks up, firm. No misunderstanding. We all saw it. She slapped her, twice, and I recorded it, another says, lifting his phone high. The screen glows with Amara's cheek, the handprint vivid, undeniable. Comments scroll in a blur. Assault, power abuse, cancel the Ashfords. Richard turns back to Amara. His face softens for a flicker. A man trying to gauge truth in silence. Amara meets his gaze, unflinching, saying nothing. She doesn't need to. The welt speaks louder than words. His jaw hardens. He whirls on Victoria. You struck her? She provoked me, Victoria blurts. Her voice rises, brittle, desperate.
She refused to serve me properly. She was insolent.
Insolent? Richard's voice cracks like a whip. You laid hands on the daughter of the man I came here to partner with? The heiress of the airline we're signing with today? His face flushes crimson. Do you have any idea what you've done? Gasps roll down the aisle. Phones tilt closer. A woman in 4C mutters, "Oh, she's finished." Victoria shakes her head wildly. You don't understand, Richard. They set me up. She baited me. Amara's calm voice slides into the air. I asked her to fasten her seatbelt. That was all. The simple sentence lands like a verdict. Richard closes his eyes briefly, like a man seeing the wreckage of his empire forming in real time. He opens them again, fury blazing. Do you realize the Ashford name is being shredded online as we speak? Do you realize every word, every move, every glass of champagne you spilled is trending? Victoria's lips tremble. She looks around for support, but every passenger's eyes are knives. The junior attendant stares at her with quiet disgust. The old man in 1D shakes his head slowly. The live stream counter ticks upward again. 20,000? 30? 40? No, she whispers, clutching at her pearls now, as though wealth itself could shield her. This isn't happening. It is, Richard snaps. His voice is no longer just anger, it's finality. You've destroyed the deal of my career. You've humiliated me. You've humiliated yourself. And you've spat in the face of the very people who own the sky you're flying through. Phones capture every word. Hashtags bloom across screens like fire spreading in dry grass. Victoria's mask crumbles. Her hand falls from her jewels, limp. The proud tilt of her chin collapses into a trembling bow. Her lipstick, flawless an hour ago, now looks like a smear of arrogance melting under the heat of exposure. The aircraft hasn't moved in minutes. Engines thrum outside. Steady, but inside. First class. The atmosphere has become a tribunal. Passengers lean forward in their seats, phones raised like glowing gavels. Every word is evidence. Richard Ashford stands in the aisle, face flushed, jaw clenched, eyes locked on his wife. You struck the heiress of Atlantic Airways. On camera. In front of witnesses. In front of me. His voice is thunder held barely in check. Victoria clutches the armrest, knuckles white, shaking her head in denial. They're twisting it. They don't understand. I was disrespected. The old man in 1D snorts, sharp and cutting. Disrespected? You humiliated that young woman. We all saw it. A chorus follows, passengers finding their voices. She hit her, on live stream. Everyone's watching this. The comments scroll faster across screens, hearts, and angry emojis flooding. Justice for Amara flashes on a dozen displays. Amara hasn't moved. She stands near the galley curtain, posture calm, hands loose at her sides, cheeks still glowing red. Her silence carries more weight than all the shouting. Victoria's eyes dart wildly, searching for escape. She turns on Richard, desperation spilling out.
You can fix this. You always fix things. Just sign the deal. Smooth it over.
Smooth it over? Richard's fury explodes, voice booming so even economy might hear. You've killed the deal. Do you realize what Captain Johnson just said? She is his daughter, the heiress, our only chance at securing this contract. His breath comes fast, ragged. You've destroyed everything. Phones capture his fury, each syllable sharpened in pixels. Victoria collapses back into her seat. Richard, please. Captain Johnson steps forward then, calm, implacable. He doesn't raise his voice, but the room bends to him. Respect is not negotiable aboard my aircraft, he says. And respect is not for sale. The words hang in the silence, heavy, undeniable. Richard turns to him, his tone almost pleading. Captain, surely we can find a way. Johnson's gaze is unyielding. The way forward is clear. Atlantic Airways will partner only with those who honor human dignity. Profit without principle has no place here. The passengers break into murmurs, nods, affirmations. Someone claps once, then another follows, until the sound grows louder, filling the cabin. Phones catch every second, every face, every clap, echoing like a verdict. Victoria hides behind her hands, trembling. She tries to shield herself from the cameras, but it's too late. Her trial is public, and her sentence is already being written by millions of eyes outside the aircraft. The applause fades into a charged hush, the kind of silence that waits for someone to break it with meaning. Phones hover, red dots glowing. The welt on her cheek catches the LED glare, but her posture is straight, her voice unshaken. You may insult me, she says, her tone low but carrying, but you cannot insult the truth. Her words ripple across the cabin. Even the hum of the engine seems to quiet. The truth is simple, she continues. Every worker in this plane, every attendant, every mechanic, every captain is owed dignity, not because of status, not because of wealth, but because we are human. The passengers lean in. The old man in 1D folds his hands, reverent. The young woman in 2B lets her blanket slip from her shoulders, eyes wide, locked on Amara. Even Richard, fury still etched on his face, lowers his head slightly, listening. Victoria shifts, trying to sneer, but her lips tremble. Her diamonds glitter uselessly, mocking her fragility. Amara's gaze sweeps the cabin. Respect is not a luxury item. It is not reserved for those who can buy it. It belongs to everyone. And the moment you deny it, you deny your own humanity. Her voice does not rise, but it deepens, filling the space. I am not standing here to claim power. I am standing here to remind you that no amount of money can buy back the dignity you throw away. A beat of silence. Then the sound begins soft clapping from 2B, spreading to 3A, swelling row by row. Applause grows, warm, defiant, rising until the cabin roars with it. Phones capture everything. The live stream counter leaps. Again. 70,000. 80. Climbing like fire. Comments flood across screens. Powerful. Historic. She said it. Truth in the sky. Amara does not bow. Does not smile. She simply stands. Cheek burning. Spine unbroken. Letting the applause wash past her. Victoria, once queen of the aisle, now crumples inward. She hides her face in her manicured hands, shoulders shaking. The applause only makes her smaller, a diamond-crusted figure swallowed by shame. The roar of clapping fades, leaving a softer echo, like rain lingering after a storm. Passengers sink back into their seats, but no one lowers their phones. The red dots glow, documenting the last breaths of Victoria Ashford's reign. Captain Johnson remains in the aisle, his stance steady, his gaze sweeping the room. He speaks without raising his voice, yet every word lands like an anchor. Atlantic Airways partners only with those who respect human dignity, he says. His eyes lock on Richard Ashford. Contracts may bring profit, but respect brings a future. Phones catch it, hashtags bloom, and the weight of the airline's reputation tilts in Amara's favor. Richard exhales, his chest deflating, as if he's aged a decade in minutes. The fury in him cools into something darker. Recognition. He nods once to the captain. Grim. Defeated. Understood. His voice carries no argument, only loss. He turns to his wife. She doesn't speak. She doesn't dare. The glass shards at her feet glint like evidence of her undoing. Passengers murmur. Some satisfied. Some still stunned. On one screen, a caption scrolls fast. Wealth doesn't define value. Respect does. Another flashes. This flight just changed everything. Amara breathes in slowly. Her cheek still aches, but she doesn't lift a hand to it. She doesn't need to. The pain has become part of her statement. Visible proof that dignity can withstand assault. She steps back into the aisle, walking toward the galley. Heads turn as she passes, and each passenger she moves by straightens as if in silent salute. Applause doesn't start again, but respect hums in the stillness. Victoria, once impossible to ignore, is invisible now. Her empire of arrogance has collapsed into silence. The engines rumble, preparing for takeoff at last. But reputations have already taken flight and fallen. If you believe these stories deserve to be heard, don't just watch. Subscribe. Stick around. Because the more we share them, the harder it becomes for anyone to pretend they didn't happen.